This is the world's finest bluefin tuna, showing you every single part of this amazing fish, including my absolute most favorite part of the entire tuna. But first, I'm gonna need the man behind the camera's help for getting this up onto the table. Today we're gonna show you how to break down every single part of a bluefin tuna, and we start by removing the head. You can see these knots right here in the spinal column. We're aiming right for the middle of one of those. That's where it's softer. So we're gonna line up our knife with that and go down. And if you hit it in that sweet spot, cutting the head off of this massive tuna is that easy. That is wild. It is just oozing. This piece of the throat, very fatty. And we're gonna show you how to harvest all of the good meat off of the head. Up next, we're gonna remove the collars. So we're gonna have to come inside of the belly and split it down the middle, going in between these pelvic fins all the way through, so that way we can separate two collar pieces. Bluefin tuna have this thick skin right here, and we're gonna need to slide our knife down the middle, removing the high loin, one of my favorite parts of cutting tuna, and we're gonna want some of this thick skin out of our way when we do that step. Pick up that fin, we're gonna slide right underneath some of this thick skin, not cutting through. Now, stick our knife underneath that collarbone. Now this is my favorite part of the fish right here, the kama. Kama just means collar, and this right here is kama toro. We're gonna show you how to harvest that. That is, in my opinion, the most prized part of the entire fish. And we're gonna repeat the process. Shave off a little bit of this thicker skin, go right underneath, just like that. And look at that. My favorite part of the entire bluefin tuna. Out of this huge fish, you only get a small portion of kama toro. Toro just means fatty cut, and kama means collar. So it is the fatty cut of the collar. Now we're gonna chop off the tail, and just like the head, there's a spot where it's easier to cut through. The third petal is gonna be where we wanna cut through. Give it a little, and look at that. Bluefin tuna marrow. The skin right here is extraordinarily tough to cut through. It is like armor. So we're gonna cut these fins off and shave off a little bit of this skin so that way it's easier to cut through. Just like shaving the skin off around the collar, we're gonna take off this tough external armor. Now, we're gonna start right on top of that dorsal fin and make a nice shallow cut. We're gonna flip our knife around, make a shallow cut going the other way. Now, with that shallow cut, you want to make sure that you are on top of the skeleton of the fish. That way you can let that skeleton guide your knife. Now, after you carefully get to the center spine, this is my favorite part of filleting a bluefin tuna. You can see the exposed pin bone line right there. We're going to take our knife and we're going to go inside of that pin bone line. So we're going to go all the way down, and we're going to slide all the way down just like that. Da, 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 da. Oh, look at that. That is the high loin of a gorgeous #1 bluefin tuna. Up next, we're gonna remove the low loin of the bluefin tuna, or bottom loin. We're gonna get our knife right on top of that spine, just like the other side. This is considered the trickiest part of the process, but it's also very satisfying. You make sure you're on top of the spine from the bottom as you work your way forward. It works a lot better. You just make sure you're resting on top of the spine from the bottom as you pull forward, letting the spine guide your knife. We went all the way to the center spine on that side. Now all we have to do is dip down on top of where the pin bones are and slide down. That'll release this whole loin just like on the other side. And there is our low loin of this gorgeous bluefin tuna with the prize, the O Toro. All right, now cutting the second side off of our bluefin tuna, we're gonna leave it as one whole piece, just taking this whole skeleton right off. We're gonna pick up this fin and go around it, just like when we're filleting the other side. Just like the other side, you wanna start from where the bone is visible down here as we slide up. Go right underneath some of those rib bones and take those out with it. And we're just gently going to the center of the spine. We're gonna come at this soft point and slide down. You can see where I broke the spine a little bit. while I was making shallow cuts, making sure that I was on top of the skeleton. So we're just going to remove this whole outer piece. Now this whole outer piece out of our way, it is very easy to wedge your knife right underneath that skeleton and let that skeleton guide your knife. So that way you're putting all of that beautiful bluefin tuna meat on the fillet instead of on the skeleton. Make sure your knife is touching the skeleton as you slide down just like that. Flip our knife around, do a nice long motion. Now, as you can see, we are completely to the center of the fish. What we're gonna do, make a nice long cut into that center spine. Then we're gonna force our knife right through just like that. And we're gonna start lifting on the skeleton as we're breaking through. And just like that, we got the whole spine off of our beautiful fish. You can see how we were scraping bone as we were filleting it. We're gonna take a spoon and scrape out all the meat in between that spine. And after you pick both sides, give it a little smack like that. Really good bluefin tuna bone marrow in there. This is really good for any kind of soups, stocks, or broths. Next, we're gonna separate the high loin from the low loin. Just like when we were filleting it, we're gonna go on the inside of that pin bone line and slide down. And once you get to the bottom, apply a little bit of pressure to cut right through that tough skin. Just like that. There's your low loin, and here's your high loin. All right, now we have two high loins. This right here is the high loin. The low loin is the quarter with the belly. Two of these, two collars, a head, and a tail. And we're gonna show you how to portion out each one of these cuts. We're gonna start with the high loin. First thing we wanna do is cut this into sections. And we don't wanna be sawing into our tuna. We wanna go down, down, back, nice and smooth. And even the tail section of this fish is absolutely gorgeous. The skin on these tuna are really hard to cut through. So what we can do is apply a little bit of pressure and lift up. Wipe those scales off. Put our knife right on the skin, cut through it, lift a little bit. All right, now we've got our sections of the high loin. The two center cuts are gonna be the most valuable. The top would be next, and then the bottom would be the least valuable because it has the most sinew. Sinew are these white fibers that run through the loin that'll make it more chewy and less soft. Now we're gonna take this prized center cut high loin and show you how to portion it up. I'm gonna take my long carving knife and get into that bloodline. And you can see how there is a natural separation of the blood on this tuna. We want to outline that nice and smooth, pulling away gently as we cut. That way we're losing out on zero that meat and just cutting through the blood. Many folks throw this bloodline away, but there's still some wonderful things you can do with it to not waste any of your tuna. We're gonna take the top of this tuna loin off. The top of the loin is called the akami. Akami just means red, and it is the leaner part of the tuna. The akami is absolutely phenomenal. And this isn't how we're gonna leave it. We're going to show you how to turn that into a saku block. Now we take the bottom portion and then we're going to cut it into blocks. Just like that, smooth forward, smooth back. And look at how beautiful that is. This would be considered chutoro, which is medium fatty. Look at these absolutely gorgeous blocks. Look at the sheen on that from all of that fat oozing out. Still a little bit of good, very fatty meat that is left on the skin. This would be great for like an extra fatty hand roll or something along those lines. And this portion right here, even though it's not a perfect block, it is still a part of the really premium stuff, and you can use that for poke or tartare. Up next, we're going to shave right underneath that extra thick line. You can see how thick and bulky those white lines are. Very tough to chew through, so we're just gonna pull the meat that's in between those lines. And we're gonna do the same thing with this piece right here. So we're gonna pull all of the meat in between the thick sinew lines, and that'll be great for tartare or spicy tuna. We're gonna take the akami, which is the lean part of the tuna, and we're gonna turn it into blocks. There's a beautiful big block of akami. Up next, we're gonna cut up the prize of the bluefin tuna, the otoro. Where these rib bones end, right here, where this membrane is, we're gonna cut it down right at that spot. Up next, we're gonna take off the akami off of this low loin with the belly connected, and that is gonna be this part, the lean part of this cut. Before cutting that off, we've got some of the rib bones here, and I'm gonna cut some of these rib bones out first, hugging extremely close to those bones, and then yes, we're gonna scrape the meat off of those bones as well. Up next, I'm gonna cut the bloodline out of this whole section, and right at the top of where that sinew is, that's where we're gonna be cutting off the akami. Now we're gonna slide our knife right underneath the last remaining rib bones, and we're going to gently cut those out. We wanna make sure that our knife is touching the bone the entire time. That way you don't lose out on any of that premium toro. You can see the fat between each of those bones. You do not want to miss out on that. Take a spoon and scrape all of that out. Now we're going to gently shave off this belly membrane as thin as we can so we don't lose any of that delicious meat. Then we're going to split it right down the middle, separating otoro from the chutoro. And this right here is the A5 of fish. This is what everyone in America wants when it comes to bluefin tuna. Now we're cutting off the pelvic fin bone. This fin has extra fatty meat all around it. It's a phenomenal part of the fish. Finally, we're ready to cut the extra fatty tuna belly, aka otoro, into these tuna blocks. These portions can retail upwards to $100 per pound, more than twice the price of the most expensive local fish in Florida. Now this is my favorite fatty cut right here. That is the kama toro. Kama means collar, toro means fatty. So we've got the fatty cut of the collar, and there's not much in there. We're going to use our smaller knife to outline that collarbone, and then we're going to start skinning it, and just like that, we have removed the kama toro. This right here is out of this world. There's still a lot of great meat on this kama, on this collar. What you would do next, cut the skin off like that, and now you've got a beautifully trimmed tuna kama. This on the smoker, on the grill, will absolutely blow your mind. All right, up next, we've got this beautiful tuna head that still has phenomenal meat in that forehead and cheek meat. We're gonna cut the forehead meat out first. Just like that kama, we're gonna get underneath that skin. And after removing that skin, you can see all the oils oozing off of that. The meat is exposed in the forehead, and we're going to cut it out. The fattiness on this cut is absolutely insane. This stuff is so good. Now that comes out in one chunk. You've got a bone right here that is blocking the next section of meat. For the next section, we have to stick our knife in and outline. It's gonna come out in the shape of a cone. Up next, we're gonna show you the cheek meat. First, we're going to skin the cheek. You can start to see the cheek meat right there. Want to be very careful to only cut the outside and not go into the meat itself. Go underneath that lip bone right there. And there is your bluefin tuna cheek. Look at that. Now these bones are phenomenal for stock or broth. But if you don't have the time or energy to do that, make sure you at least go ahead and take some good old bluefin tuna bone marrow shots. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a killer day.